Hello, my name's Nick, and today I'm going to be talking about how to help people who are struggling with pornography. I feel that I talked way too much at the beginning last time, so let's just jump into it. Now I have better memes. So, exactly slide by slide, what are we going to be talking about? I'm going to first tell you the most ideal way that society can combat pornography, I feel, and I feel especially strongly. Next, we're going to talk a bit more, short story to set it up. We're going to talk about shame and pornography, the combination of what it means. We're going to talk about how bad pornography is. I feel like it's overtuned in a lot of people's minds, and that can make people who want to help people struggle with pornography not do so much good in that. And what is the difference between good and bad support? So, first, what is the best way to combat pornography? The best way to combat pornography is gonna be parents teaching their kids. Very straightforward, very simple. The big struggle with pornography and why people continue to struggle with this thing is because of the shame behind it. If you talk about pornography with your kids, say something along the lines of, hey, when you're looking around the internet, if you find this kind of stuff, right, you find naked people doing things, right, a kid will find that and will be very concerned, very not sure what to do, ashamed. But if you tell them beforehand, if you say, hey, when you're looking around the internet and you randomly come across this stuff, or if your friends show you something like this, you're not in trouble. You can come talk to us. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Now, that gets rid of the shame. That gets rid of future problems. It gets rid of any weirdness. It's going to take a bit of courage on the part of the parent to not be awkward about the subject and to be straightforward and to actually say the words and make sure the child understands. But if that's done, then pornography will not be a problem ever. Okay, now gonna be talking a lot more, and I want to set this up right because I feel that if I jump into it, then it's not gonna come across as intended. So I want to talk about first Frankenstein's monster, English class callback. So, Frankenstein was a scientist, he made a monster, and then he got scared of his monster and ran away. The monster, who had just been born, did not understand why he was created, he did not understand anything, he was very confused, and he had very wholesome, good intentions at first. But anytime the monster would try to talk to someone or be nice to someone or try to understand someone, they would either attack him or run away from him because he looks like a monster. So eventually, the monster decided that all humans are his enemy, especially his creator, and proceed to do bad things. Now, whose fault is it? So, it's very straightforward and easy to say that it's the monster's fault. The monster should have been mature enough to understand why people ran away from him and did mean things to him. It's because he looks like a monster. It's an understandable reaction, right? And the monster should have tried harder to show his true intentions. But I feel like that's the very easy route and the very one-tier thinking. When we get deeper, we can understand that society should have not judged the monster based on his looks. They should have judged him based on his actions, based on the things that he's doing and trying to do. If he didn't do anything, then you shouldn't try to attack him. And society should have investigated the monster further, its behaviors, where it came from, why it is, what does it do, is it planning something? But yes, I personally think it's much more on society's fault. More like 70-30 kind of reaction, kind of fault here. I feel it's definitely to be shared, but more so on society. Now, This is going to be a big one. I'm sorry, but we're going to get a bit deep here. When I was a missionary, during a certain zone conference, this was told to me. I was told that there was a scam going around that targets missionaries. Well, what happened during this scam is the account that would target the missionary would be a very attractive, flirty girl. And they would be very flirty, very explicit, and then would send not explicit photos and request some from the missionary in return. If the missionary sent these photos, then the photos would then be threatened by the scam account to go to the missionary's parents or bishop or other leadership or people they care about. Now, because as church culture, it is very, very high standard, and something like this happening to someone, right? Someone being like showing explicit photos of someone from the church online, that then now there's a lot of judgment against that person, like, wow, that person did something terrible, right? It's a lot of judgment about that, and so the missionary doesn't want that to happen, and so the scam mail account is like, oh, you give me $1,000, then I won't send the pictures, but that's great. But in some of these cases, the missionaries would, being unable to decide either way, decide to unalive themselves, and that's why it's such a huge problem. It is very unfortunate that this happens, and I'm very sorry, but I feel that it's very important that we discuss whose fault is it. Again, it's very easy and straightforward to say, well, it's the missionary's fault. The missionary shouldn't have entertained the flirty girl. They should have seen this and been like, no, right? They should have been professional. They shouldn't have sent explicit photos of themselves. That's not a smart thing to do. Do not send naked photos of yourself out there. The missionary should have been more understanding. And they should have forgiven themselves and understand that they can come back from this. They are not set forever based on this one bad choice they did. But that there is a possibility in the future to be better. Society. I feel like it's a big argument to take that it's society's fault for a lot of the same reason why it was the society's fault when it came to Frankenstein's monster. Society should have taught the missionary to act professionally and to not send explicit photos of oneself, obviously, just as before. But more so, and I'm sorry, I'm apparently covering it. Sorry, the screen. I'm not going to fix it. It's okay. I'll read it. It says society should be more understanding of the missionary's mistakes. The missionary unalives themselves because they're scared of judgment from other people. This is, I feel, much more society's fault than the missionary's fault. Because why is the culture so judgmental that someone would rather die than to learn to own their mistakes and be better? I think it is crazy that someone could even entertain the thought that it's the missionary's fault and not at all society's. I think blame is to be shared, but again, I feel it is more society's fault. Now we're going to jump back to the topic at hand. So, pornography and shame. The cycle of how this begins, right, is normally, as I've spoken before at the beginning of the slideshow, when a kid accidentally finds pornography or is shown pornography, then they feel bad. They feel like, oh, that was that thing that they talked about one time at church, and they said that it's a terrible, terrible thing, and I should keep it a secret, and this is bad. Right? They feel shameful, and they feel that they can't talk about it to anyone because it's such an awkward and uncomfortable topic. And then they can easily get into the cycle of feeling shameful and then understanding pornography is the way that you feel good, right? That's the dopamine, and that's a way to not feel shameful. And then afterwards, you feel more shameful, and so it returns back to pornography, and so it returns to more shameful. That's the cycle. But I feel the important note is pornography only has as much power over you as you give it. If you think pornography is this huge, gigantic thing, then it will be. So that's why I created this, right? Gigantic, huge sin ruins your life forever. You're going to struggle against it your entire life. You're now worthless because not worthless, because of your struggle against pornography, right? All these huge things, they're all not true. I don't believe a single one of those. And I think the people who do believe those have issues and they need therapy. And that the actuality of it is that pornography is unhealthy. It's a bad habit for your mind and your body. I would personally put it in the category of it being like drinking a lot of something unhealthy or eating a lot of unhealthy foods or something like that. If you tell people the thing on the left side of the screen over here, right, it's a huge problem you're going to have your entire life and all these big things, then you're going to make that person think, oh man, I'm such a worthless man. I should be so ashamed of myself. All these negative things about themselves. But if you tell them the other things, right, that it's unhealthy, but it's a minor thing, don't worry, it's not going to hold you back. It's just an unhealthy thing to do, right? And it has no impact on one's worth. This is very important. Don't make them feel shame. That's what a lot of this is about. Just summarize the whole podcast. If you're trying to help someone who's struggling with pornography, the idea is do not make them feel shameful about themselves. Tell them that they're still worth it. Moving on. So, we're going to play the game again. Whose fault is it? Pornography viewer, or is it going to be society? More specific on society now. I'm going to say church and family culture. So, obviously, it's very easy, yet again, to say, well, it's the pornography viewer's fault. They're the ones that are watching the pornography, obviously. And they should learn to deal with their own emotions. But, yet again, I feel like the argument can be made that it's society's fault, and particularly the culture of the family and the church. The family more so, in my opinion, but the church definitely as well, as that is a supporting culture of the family. But society decides how shameful or not shameful something is. Minor thing, I just felt like putting that in there. A lot of things that are shameful in society, I feel deserve to be, and some things don't deserve to be. You know, all those random Twitter things that everyone gets upset about because of stupid reasons. There's a lot of shameful things in society, I feel, that are not shameful. So, shame is increased or decreased. It depends on the family's interactions about what's happening. So, if the person who's struggling with pornography goes to their parents and says, I'm struggling with pornography, and the parents go, oh no, oh man, this is terrible. Right now, the person who's struggling with pornography is like, I let my parents down. I let everyone down. I'm just terrible, right? This is not good. Don't do that. Say, it's okay. We can work through this. It's a minor thing. It would be a good idea to talk about feelings with them. How do they feel about themselves? How do they feel about, is the pornography pulling them down in some way? I'll tell them that it shouldn't be pulling them down and that they're an awesome person and the pornography has no regard on how awesome they are. Yes, friends and family should go through mental and emotional, should help that person go through mental and emotional troubles. Yes, what I just said. Nice. All right. This is the final slide, I think. Yes, it is. I'm sorry yet again. I am covering up part of the words. My bad. But good support versus bad support. I think this is very important. I think very often people can think that they are very good support when they are in fact not good support. So let's look at what good support is. Good support is. This is going to be a lot of helping people not feel ashamed of themselves. So you ask in private how people are doing with their struggles and with their feelings. I'd say much more so with their feelings. Don't ask them about pornography. Like, how many times did you watch this week? How are you feeling today about yourself? Yes. Don't be awkward about it. It's fine. It's a thing that exists. I am so sad that pornography is such a huge struggle and that no one's talking about it. That's just making it worse. Don't be awkward about it. If you need to talk about it, then talk about it. So tell the person that pornography does not impact their worthiness as a person. Help them to feel good about themselves. And understand that if you don't think that you're very know all the things to say to help this person, but you still want to, therapy is a good idea. Therapy is helpful, and there is nothing shameful about it. Now let's talk about bad support. I put bad support here, but a more accurate term would be people who think that they are good support, but in actuality they are bad support. So, people who are bad support in this way, they avoid the subject, right? Pornography is awkward. We don't want to talk about that. I know I'm supposed to, but let's just do it once a month, right? They don't ask about struggles or feelings, don't want to know about how the person feels about themselves. Not that they're avoiding that, but why would that come up? Just not something you think about. When you don't care about someone, you don't ask how they're doing. Very awkward about the subject, shames the person for struggling, thinks lowly of them, or maybe it makes a funny joke at them sometimes. It's not intentionally shaming them, but more making them feel bad unintentionally, a bit passive-aggressively, a bit passively, not aggressively. Sorry. I guess it aggressively can exist, but I don't see it that happening much. I see it much more happening where where something is mentioned sometime during like a movie or something, then everyone's like, oh, that person, we know that guy's struggling. Look over at that guy. Yeah, that guy doesn't appreciate it. Think lowly of the person who is struggling with pornography. This isn't something that is done. I feel that this is something that's done beforehand. It's a certain mindset, and this will lead to becoming bad support, right? If you think very lowly of someone, think someone is not worthy, then you're not going to help them feel worthy about themselves. If you think that pornography makes someone a terrible person, you're not going to help that person think that they're a good person because you don't think they're a good person. So I believe that is something that should be dealt with first. The question being like, ask yourself, does pornography make someone a lesser person or a more low person? Is that person any lesser because of their struggles with pornography? And if the answer is no, then I disagree and don't try to help people then, because you're not going to be very good at it. Because here's the big thing. So if you are in a very close relationship with someone who's struggling with pornography, I'm going to say like a parent or a sibling or a really good friend or a partner or something like that, someone where your opinion is held in extremely high regard and you are bad support, now this is worse than having no support at all, because now the person needs to understand that your support, your opinion of them is completely wrong. They need to go through the process in their mind of understanding that you're wrong, and even though you're supposed to be someone who knows things, you're supposed to be someone who's a guiding force in their life, that they go through the struggle understanding that you are in fact not. And it can be a lifetime struggle for a lot of people, trying to get the idea that someone who you think is a good person is in fact not a good person. How to deal with that is very tough at times and very unfortunate. But there we go. That's the podcast. This is how I believe that people should help people who struggle with pornography. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. It's okay if you disagree with me. Yep, all those things. Hopefully I did this in much less time than the other one. But yeah, bye.